Imagine you're walking through a forest surrounded by towering trees and vibrant plants. You see an ant carrying a seed. It might seem like the nature is full of the harmony and balance, but what if I tell you that this ant might be an invader, and the seed that they're carrying is also another invasive species? You may heard about the terms invasive species. It often refers to a group of non-native creatures spread to a new environment that can cause a huge damage to the local ecosystem. But have you ever heard about secondary invasion? In this paper, scientists report a good example for this event. In South Africa, scientists discovered an invasive species called Argentine ant. However, it's not a single invasion event. In some cases, this ant can help the spreading for another invasive species, which is called acacia. You may be curious about how scientists discovered this event. Firstly, scientists comparing 6 areas that have been invaded by Argentine ant with 6 areas that hasn't been invaded. They conduct 2 experiments. First, they test the seed dispersal rate, and secondly, they do ant community surveys. The results for experiment is really shocking. The areas that invaded by Argentine ants, the disperse rate for acacia species is significantly higher than the native plant species, and it's 3 times higher. Here's another question. Why acacia seeds are preferred by Argentine ants? To understand this, scientists conduct chemical analysis for their seeds. They discover that in the seeds for acacia species, they contain a special chemical called oleic acid, which attract the Argentine ants a lot. By comparing the acacia seed to native species seed, the scientists discovered that the oleic acid concentration in acacia seed is significantly higher than the native seed. In this way, the Argentine ant will prefer the acacia seed than the native seed. Do you think that's the whole story? Of course not. In non-invaded area, there are different types of the native ants that can help to spread different types of the seeds, include both the native seed and the invasive seed. However, in the invaded areas, 12 types of the native ants are killed by the invasion of the Argentine ant. The only creature that remain in here is the native ants that can help the spreading for the invasive seed. In this way, the Argentine ant changed the population structure for native ants to help them to spread the invasive seed. Why should we care about this stuff happening in Africa, in South Africa? Well, it's like a domino effect, which means one invader creates a perfect condition for another. This may cause several problems. Firstly, the native population will have a huge decline, include both plants, insects, perhaps animals. This loss of biodiversity is harder to control because of the domino effect we have mentioned. So before the end of this story, let's consider about the limitations for this research. Of course, we have observed this event happening in South Africa, but does it mean that the secondary invasion is happening in the whole world? In another paper, scientists discovered that the native ants, such as those 2 species, show to outcompete the Argentine ant, which means they can limit the spread for Argentine ant and protect their resources. There are also other considerations. Firstly, what happens to the seed after they're dispersed? Are they live, they grow, or they just die? Secondly, the activities for ants are affected by the season, by the temperature. So how does the seasonality affect the seed dispersal? So that's all. Thanks for listening.